So I think I'm going to cut this about halfway on page 26 of your notes, right? About halfway, I'm going to draw a line. And so I will just say, let's write down the important information. That the speed is 400 kilometers per hour. AB, distance from A to B, is 1100 kilometers. And at a direction of north 61 degrees west. Okay. And the distance from Allenburg to Sherbrooke is 900 kilometers at north 12 degrees east. So I'm not writing the whole thing down. You want to know time between Allenburg and Sherbrooke. Right? That's basically what the question is asking, like how long would it take this plane to fly that distance? And I will make reference, this is page 9 of workbook. Did you ask for question 5 or 4? 5. Question 5. Yeah, the speed is just an added thing. The speed will take care of that later. We'll first find out the distance between the two towns, right? Let's see here. Pilot leaves Bay Ridge. She knows that the distance from Allenburg to Bay Ridge is 110 kilometers north. So I'm guessing you're at Bay Ridge. So we're gonna figure out that it's over here somewhere. And from there, we're told that north 61 west. Right? North 61 west, that would be this going this way, right? 61. That's 61 right there. And we're leaving Bay Ridge Airport, right? So this direction, at a distance of 1,100 kilometers, we would find Allenburg. Okay, so we call this A. And Allenburg to Sherbrooke is 900 kilometers north, 12 degrees east. Okay. Allenburg to Sherbrooke. So Sherbrooke is somewhere over here because it's north, 12 east, right? So it's just a small turn. And we have one thing that I'm not going to do is line them up. Okay, I'm not going to line up A and C directly horizontally, but this is there. So the 12-degree angle goes in there. And now here comes my dashed line. This is basically what I need to figure out. And this is my question mark. I will figure out that distance and then I can figure out how long it would take to fly. Okay. question? Can you not see well? Marby, a question? Oh, okay. See, I don't like this question because the premise, the start of the question says a pilot leaves Bay Ridge Airport and flies to Sherbrooke at a constant speed of 400 kilometers. She knows, right? So where are you at the beginning? You're leaving here, right? So this is what's actually happening. You're going from A to C. That's the plan. She knows that that the distance from Allenburg to Bay Ridge is this is the distance and this is the direction. So if you are here, right? If you're at Bay Ridge, she knows that from here to here it's 1,100 kilometers and this is the direction to that town, right? And then she also knows the distance from Allenburg to Sherbrooke is 900 kilometers north, 12 east, right? So oh, okay, I think the 900 I got wrong, right? The distance from Allenburg to Sherbrooke is 900 kilometers. This question is not worded very well. The distance from Allenburg to Sherbrooke is 900 kilometers north. It doesn't really say that there's a turn, right? It just starts with she knows that the distance from here to here is this, and the distance from here to here is this, north. This should have probably said Bay Ridge to Sherbrooke. Bay Ridge to Sherbrooke, right? Because if you're at Bay Ridge, you know this distance at that, right? And you know also that from here to here is 900, right? That's what it should have read, because it doesn't tell you that you're flying here, turning, and then going this way, right? It's just, it says she knows. I wish I could have, how was my key? What's that? Would we agree that's a terrible question? Mhm. And this is textbook stuff. Like I didn't make this question up. Yeah, because okay, let's just forget about like I'm not gonna do this to you on a test, right? It'll say turn, right? Like you've seen the ones that I've given you and most of the textbooks, but this should have been, because they give you direction. Allenburg to Sherbrooke is north 12 degrees east. Then they should have said from Allenburg to here is 900. Okay, I get it. I think this is where what it's saying here. That looking out from Allenburg, it's 900 kilometers north 12 east. Looking out from Allenburg. So technically, allow me to do this. Allow me to do this. And I told you you're gonna have to be comfortable with erasing, right? Looking out from here. So forget about this for a bit. I told you, right? I told you. You have been warned. So this is what she knows. And then from Allenburg to Sherbrooke, it's north 12 degrees east. Right? We're going this way. You follow? And we're not going to line up, right? I did? Sorry, guys. It's Monday. But that's why I do this before I give you the AC to warm up our brains. But doesn't it, I'm basically walking you through what sometimes will occur to you in your brains, right? You're like, wait a minute. If I read it again, did you notice that we read it again? And we were like, wait a minute, like this doesn't make sense. The 900 didn't make sense to me that it came in there like that. So this is what? This is 12. That's right. And how are we going to do? Are we going to shoot past what? We know that this is 900, right? And it's actually a very shallow angle. This should have been a lot smaller. It's kind of going up like this, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to put the 900 in here. Okay, now so this is C, right? Allenberg to Sherbrooke. And what's going to happen here, I'm going to cut this, right? I'm going to close this off. And then 61, what's going to happen to it? It's not really going to be in this corner anymore when I redraw this. So let's redraw this thing. Let me redraw the redraw. Okay. And here we go. So this is A, B, C. There we go. We know that this is 900. We know that this is 1100. We don't know that this is 61, correct? Because we're cutting. When you close the triangle, the 61 is not in here. Okay, 61 is between the north line and the actual path. But what can we do? Obviously, it's going to help us, right? So that 61, let me use a red pen here. So, right, that 61 comes in here. Something is going to happen with that, right? Let me zoom in a bit because I feel like, right, the 61 comes in here. So now along this straight line back there, the dashed line, right, the north-south line, you have supplementary angles there. So there's a way to find out this interior angle right here, right? This one here is, because it's just 180 minus these two. I would like you to show that work whenever you can. So 180 minus 61 minus 12. This is 73, right? So it's 107, 107 degrees. The 107 goes in there. Okay. And what is this? This is SAS, right? Cosine law. So we're going from, remember at the very beginning, it says we're flying from here to here, right? So finding side A is our question mark. We will figure that out and then determine how long it would take us. It says to the nearest minute. So we will do that, right? So we go A squared is equal to 1100 squared plus 900 squared minus 2 times, and you know the rest, right? The rest, I will zoom out a bit. Cosine of 107. You should realize that when you take the cosine of 107, you're going to get a negative ratio, which will turn, right, this negative and that negative will turn this whole thing positive. But if you type it in one shot, you won't even really have to worry about it. But sometimes students do that in steps, so you need to just be mindful of that. And at this point, I'm sure that for those of you that tried this question, you know the answer, right? So that is 259.8895. You know what? If you tried this and you were confused, I still commend you, right? Like you tried this, and I think right now you were paying attention to how are we deciphering it, right? And the problem is I made the key a long time ago, so I had to even like struggle with that one, right? So second, take the root, and that's 1612.10917. You know what? I'm going to use all decimals because that's not my final answer, is it? The ultimate answer is supposed to be the time that went by. And this is how I'm going to do this. This is good old chapter 8, right? If you travel 400 kilometers in 1 hour, right? But they want minutes, right? Yeah. I'm just going to do that. Is that fair? 60 minutes? And then I'm going to say, if I have this many kilometers to travel, how many minutes will it take? Remember proportional reasoning? Cross, multiply, and divide. So x is 60 times 1612.1 ... divided by 400. And here it goes. 241.81, and that keeps going, which is approximately 242 minutes, right? Is that the answer? Marby, you have the answer ready or no? You had the answer key up, right, or no? Hours. Okay. So we would just go, right? We would just divide this by 60, right? And then that would give you your hours. So 4 hours. You know, I don't know if I showed you this trick, right? But you take away 4, take away the 4 hours, and then just multiply that remainder by 60. So it's 4 hours and 2 minutes, right? If I tell you stated in hours and minutes, then you do it like you would turn that into hours and minutes, obviously. But if it's just minutes, technically this would be fine. So 4.03 hours or approximately 242 minutes. Is that the answer I have? Yeah, you said 4 something on the key that you remember? Yeah, which is what I had. Yeah. Phew, at least we got it right. Any more questions? No more questions? Well, thank you for that question. Every once in a while, right? Like we have to rough it through, right? But remember, be okay with erasing, right? Some students like, I don't know how to erase, right? And so you have to have your, I would suggest you have your rough draft, the story, and then cut out your nice triangle and do all the messy work with transferring angles and stuff here, and then bring over a clean version of that triangle outside. Okay, pause there. We're gonna do our AC. They are. This is basically the end of chapter 3, and then after the quiz, we're gonna focus a bit more on chapter 4, which is the one problem I was telling you about that arises at times. All right, so Elijah likes to visit his friend Dustin. Right? Elijah, Dustin. By snowmobile, Elijah leaves his home, drives a certain distance at a direction, stops, right? Then continues 10 kilometers in another direction and arrives at Dustin's home. Draw a labeled diagram with the information given. Okay, so here's A. And you've already read it, so you're familiar with what's happening here. So we're going southwest, right? We're going south. This is my west, right? So that's about 15 kilometers this way. 15. Sorry. 15 degrees, not kilometers. 15 degrees, and this is 13 kilometers. Stop, so stop here, so that's my start, right? And then here's a turn of some sort happening, and we're turning, this is different, right? West, 10 degrees south. So you're going to start with your west line, and then you're going to turn 10 degrees south. So it's actually going this way. Okay, so 10 degrees, and you're going 10 kilometers in this direction, right? So I'm almost off the charts there, off the paper, right? And then you arrived at your final destination, which is Dustin's home. I'm calling it D, right? So there's your triangle. You know what? I think a ruler is it's a good idea to use one. So I'm going to make my dashed line here. And obviously your triangle may look a little different, but that's okay. What's happening here is this 15, where does that go? You know, always the transfer, right? Well, notice that it's between this dashed line and the actual direction. So it's actually going to go, if that 15 transfer, it's going to go in here, not the whole thing, right? So what angle do you have here? It's a 90. So it's 15, 90, and 10 is that angle here at T. So if you have the 15 and the 10 show up, I would give you 1 mark already for diagram. Like if the 15 and the 10 show up correctly, so I would give you, so technically it's 1.5, right? If you somehow didn't get that 90 there, but you later come up with it, that's fine. Then I would still give you 1.5. Okay. So here's my clean version of it. This is more like it, right? Or something like that. This is 10 and 15, right? That's 25 plus 90, that's 115. If the 115 shows up anywhere, right, I would give you a full mark for that piece right there. So this is starting, turning, and Dustin's home. This is 10 kilometers. This is 13. And now you're going to calculate, right, the distance between the two. And so that's cosine law, obviously. And that ends up with a bunch of work. And then you just really take the square root of 378.88. It keeps going. And the distance is 19.46. Okay, here's the bottom line. This whole thing is technically worth 4. If you have a diagram and an answer of some sort, it involved sine law, cosine law, it doesn't matter, you made a mistake, you get 2 out of 4 today. If you have a diagram and you have some kind of work, I would give you 2 out of 4 immediately. And of course, if you get the 1946, you get 4 out of 4. If you do all this work, but the 115 is not there, I would give you maximum 3 out of 4. If you feel like you've done most of it correct, most of the diagram is right, but you somehow missed that 115, I would give you a maximum of 3 out of 4. If you have some sort of diagram, even if it's bad, and you have some sort of work, 2 out of 4. Right? So we'll be generous today, we'll be gracious today there with you. Okay, that should be your answer though. Okay, you can make corrections because I'll hand this back to you tomorrow after I record this. Okay. Next, let's do the last one before we go. Trig review C is the one I'm going to ask you to try for homework after today. Okay, so if I run out of time, that's what we're going to do. So just pay attention with me. It's the last 5 minutes, but it can be very helpful. So we have, again, a crew flies 45 kilometers in this direction, northwest, right? So I'm going to start somewhere here. I'm going north, 25 west, right? So that's my 25 there at 45 kilometers. Okay, 45 kilometers. Then there's a turn, and we're turning south 51 west this way. So the 51 goes in there between the south line and there. Do we have a distance? We don't, right? So we'll just say start, turn, and final destination, right? I'm not going to line them up like this. Don't do that, right? What do I know though? That the destination is 75 kilometers from the heliport, right? Does this smell like Sila? It should, kind of, right? So what are you going to do with the 25? You're going to bring it in. But always make sure, right? Remember there's a dashed line here. Make sure you bring it in there, okay? So if you have the 25 in there and you have the, what's that angle in there now, 76? If you have a 76 when you do the clean version, right? This is 76 when you add them up. Those are always worth a full mark in my books, okay? Figuring out when you puzzle it together, when you bring stuff over and you figure out that missing angle, this is worth a full mark. So this is 75, 75 here, this is 45, and that's basically it, okay? So what are they asking you for? Determine the total distance the crew traveled. So it's from here to here to here, which is basically telling you figure out this side here, which I call it S, right? So you have your pair. You must first find this angle, right? So angle F, I will just tell you what that is. Angle F is 35.6 degrees. Okay. If you do the work, it's 35.6 degrees. Then you find angle S by using sum of 180. Angle S is going to be 68.4 degrees. And then side S is going to be 7187 kilometers. Okay. And so the total distance, is adding them all up, and that gives you 191.87. Sorry, you just add up these two here. So actually, let me see. That's 45. I think I got it wrong. 45 plus 71.87. That's 116.87. Sorry. 116.87. So the bell's going to go right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it in, and I'm going to give it back to you tomorrow, and I will just mark the front and give you bonus marks accordingly, okay? And I will probably look at the back as well to adjust that. So trig review C, trig review C. You will only learn math by doing math.